Raised by Wolves Season 2 comes to a close with Episode 8, Happiness. And once again, this was an amazing episode. Honestly, the only thing I can fault this episode for is the fact that it's not like 5 hours long and I have to wait another year or two for Raised by Wolves Season 3. I love this episode so much, and at the end, when it finished, I was overwhelmed with shock and awe of the huge cliffhanger, the crazy, insane cliffhanger. And then I felt this overwhelming sense of kind of sadness and like just kind of sorrow, or just the fact that I had to wait for so long for more Raised by Wolves. I have just recently binged this whole show and now I'm finally up to date. Now we're up to the finale and it was amazing, but yeah, really disappointed there's not more, because this show is just so exciting. It's so fun. It's so scary and terrifying, but it's so emotional. And at this point, I'm so like kind of attached to all these characters in a way that I really didn't think I would be, having watched that first episode only a couple of weeks ago now. Like, the show has progressed and changed and morphed into something that is so amazing. I love how this show is able to balance the small human stories of parenting and faith and all these things getting mixed together, but then also doing big crazy things where Mother's got a veil on and she's flying in the sky and fighting a giant kraken, serpent, winged lizard monster thing, and then she kills it and it falls through the sky, and because she kills it and it falls through the sky because of magic, sci-fi, whatever the hell, now it's snowing. I love that as well. I love the fact that first season was like, it's a desert show, we're in the desert. And season 2, it's like, now we're in the tropicals, now we're in the tropics, and it's all beautiful, big, gloriously luscious trees, and it's all green and everything. And even their costumes kind of represent that. In first season, they're all wearing rags. Season 2, the atheists are like, we wear yellow and green. That's what we do, that's the atheist colors. And now it's snowing, so everyone's going to be wrapped up in lots of warm jackets and jumpers, and we're going beyond the wall. It's going to be all snowy for season 3, presumably, and I really love that. I really love the way this show is able to make each season feel different just by the visual kind of aesthetic of the show. This episode starts with one of my favorite TV show and movie tropes, where you've got the hero and the villain, and they're both teaming up to face a greater threat. I just love seeing Marcus and Mother teaming up together. There was a little bit of it in episode 7, and now in this episode there's a little bit more. We don't get big, huge scenes because Mother almost immediately puts on the veil and doesn't really, and kind of becomes not Mother, or Mother without emotions. But even that tiny little scene where Marcus is like, I don't like Soul anymore, or the entity as we're now kind of referring to him, which I love as well. Super ominous and scary. I love that everyone's like, no, Soul is totally real. He's just not Soul. He's just some weird guy that we're going to call the entity, who's maybe underground now. So really excited to see how that's going to play out in season 3. I was a little disappointed we didn't get a little kind of glimpse of him, maybe as like a teaser at the end, but I have a feeling that's something to do with Marcus's floating upside down thing at the end. I love this change for Marcus. The fact that he was at first like an atheist into hiding in the religious group, and then he became super religious, just like extreme religious, and went crazy on it for pretty much the whole series. But now, because Sue turned into a tree, he's like, actually, Soul's kind of a prick. So yeah, screw that guy. I don't want to be on his side anymore. He turns my wife into a tree. Also, when grandmother showed them all the video, it's like, wait, they just have these kind of educational videos showing them how the seeds turn people into trees? Disturbing as hell, like the way it rips and just explodes out of their bodies, just horrific. On one hand, I'm really glad we didn't see that for Sue, but I'm also kind of surprised they didn't use that to kind of shock and awe us in that episode where Sue turned into a tree. Before I was watching this finale, I had a little bit of a fear that we wouldn't have much time to kind of do anything else except to have Mother with the veil versing giant serpent kraken monster thingy in the sky, and they'll be shooting lasers and lightning, doing all this kind of stuff, and it might become a bit like a, you know, like a Marvel kind of fight at the end, and we kind of lose all that character drama stuff that I'm kind of hoping we'd have. But no, I was wrong. That fight happens in the first like 10 minutes and it's done and it's amazing. The serpent kraken monster thingy, number 7, Mr. 7, he doesn't look like perfect. The kraken serpent squiddy tentacles, and they're all flying about in the wings, and the way it moves, the way everything's dying underneath it, where it's shooting super laser bolts everywhere like it's a Dragon Ball Z character. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. But the actual CGI visual of it it wasn't 100%. Like, I kind of wished, you know, maybe they could spend like 5% more of the budget just for this final scene, just so it looks glorious. But who cares? The concept alone, amazing. Even if it looked terrible like a PlayStation 2 scene, I would have loved it. Such a great, amazing idea. I love the way that Mother, with her veil on now, looking absolutely terrifying, just so scary. She brings it right up into the sky, has a big fight in the sky, and then it drops, falling down, and then shatters into the ground. Amazing. It was such a fun scene, and I loved how early it happened in the episode. So shocking. It was just like, oh awesome! We pretty much have a whole full episode after this giant CGI battle, and I was really curious as to what was going to happen next. And then the episode goes classic finale wrap up. We're all having a big celebration. We're all dancing about. There's even actual fireworks, and everyone's dancing and singing, being like, "We killed the serpent, yeah boy!" And they're all having a glorious, amazing time. And I don't trust it for 1 second. I didn't trust it for a single second. Every time I saw someone smile, I'm like, don't smile. Something horrific and tragic is going to happen. Your family is going to be murdered and eaten by some other kind of monster or turned into a tree. Ever since we had the double whammy of Tempest being like, I hate my baby, but then she's like, actually, I love my baby. I've never been more happy. And I'm like, I'm so happy for you. You've had 2 seasons of hating on this baby and now you finally love them. Oh my God, a mermaid stole a baby. What the hell? And then we have Sue, Paul, and Marcus, and they're like, we hate each other. We've hated each other, and there's been all this turmoil for so long, but now we're so happy. We're dancing about and just hugging each other and singing lullabies, and we're just having a grand old time. We're all big soul worshippers now, and we're just having a grand old time. No, now Sue's a tree. And then we had the amazing subversion of expectations where the giant lizard serpent snake monster wasn't a monster. It was a good guy. He wasn't a bad guy. And then it's like, twist! No! Now he's got cracking tentacle things and shooting lightning and laser beams, and he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. Everything you love is evil and bad, or a tree. So I don't trust happiness. I don't trust people smiling and happy and being all like, everything is good, everything's fun, we've survived season 2, everyone's dancing about and being like, we survived season 2, we did it, ha ha ha, season 3 is going to be set in the snow, but we don't even care, we haven't seen Game of Thrones, we don't know how awful it is beyond the wall, we're just having a time, just dancing about. Didn't trust it. But somehow, I was still tricked by the sudden but inevitable betrayal by Grandmother. So Grandmother takes off her veil, and the performance she gives this episode is exceptional. At first, she's very, very robotic, very androidy, but then we start to see these little bits of humanity, and then as the episode progresses, her and father start bonding over being kind of the new mother and father for the kids, and it's just so amazing. It's so wholesome and beautiful. I love how much they're getting along. I love how much she's slowly being like, oh, these emotions, they are super overwhelming, but I like it. I just loved it. I loved it. It was so nice. It was so wholesome. It was so just joyous to see her have so much fun. And I kind of felt like she was going to become the new mother because mother with the veil. And she's all like, I have no feelings and this is good. No good. I was terrified. The whole episode, I'm like, give back the veil. Give back the veil. This is classic having too much power situation. Like someone's like, oh, I'll just have the ring of power for a little bit. It won't make me evil and crazy. I promise. Guys, I promise. I don't trust you, Boromir! I don't trust you! And so the veil had that kind of similar feeling where she's like, she puts this on, and suddenly I'm like, where's Mother gone? And how did she look so much more menacing with the veil on than Grandmother did? I guess that's because we never knew what Grandmother's face was, but hiding Mother's face, one, a travesty for the actress because she's so spectacular. I want to see her robotic face showing little glimmers of humanity and stuff. She's so amazing. But yeah, having the veil on, I was like, okay, Mother is now going to be the villain for season 3. I hate this, but I can totally see how they've got here, why we're getting here, why it's going to be like this. And that scene where they're all playing by the water. Well, not playing by the water, it's toxic water. And then Father and Grandmother are like talking. He's like, do you want to hear a joke? She's like, oh, I always want to hear a bloody joke. I'm always up for a dad joke, mate. Dad joke, I always just call them dad jokes because his father. They're just terrible jokes. Well, sometimes they're actually amazing jokes. Sometimes I'm like, genuinely, bloody funny, Father. I love it. Her veil's going all red and scratching and freaking out. And I'm like, oh my God, she's going evil. She's going evil. I don't want this. I don't want this. And so when her veil, when she's trying to like tear it off, consumes her like this giant silicone cocoon thingy, terrifying, horrific and terrifying. This show has so many moments that are just so horrific and terrifying in their, just the idea and concept alone, but then the presentation and how they actually do it. The way it like just seals over her body, and just sucks her up like a vacuum seal bag for meat. Horrendous. Horrific. I hated it. I was so scared. I haven't been this scared since probably the last episode of Raised by Wolves. And honestly, until Grandmother came and she's like, you thought I was happy and fun. I'm actually evil. And the actress's performance just turns like that shot of her looking down at Mother. Her face, the way she was just so like happy and gleefully kind of turning the kids into mutants. Also, turning the kids into mutants and devolving them into the pure race of humans as she sees it. horrific, terrifying. And you can totally see how it's been building up to this and how she might see it that way, even though she's totally wrong. You want them to be all weird mermaid people and little dog men thingies with dog face? What the hell, grandmother? Those things are monstrous. Like, what are you talking about? Before she opens her up and mother's like, I'm still a mother, don't do this to my children. I'm like, oh, thank God. At least someone hasn't turned evil that like, thank God mother's not evil. But before then, I was like, what the hell is this cocoon thing? I was just so lost. And I don't know how it tricked me, because every episode it's like, someone's happy, actually no, they're evil or a tree. So I don't know how it happened, but the grandmother twist totally shocked me, horrified me. Her reasoning, her plan to turn them and devolve them into the mermaid dog human people, just horrific, hate it all, absolutely hate it. But I love where the show's going, and that moment right at the end where she's like, I'm still the fun grandmother you loved before, and I'm like, I don't buy it anymore. I'm seeing through this little game you're playing, grandmother. Terrifying. Speaking of games, that game where she's like, oh, we don't need a controller, and we're not playing bang bang shooty games anymore. No. It's this ethereal weird thing where you just sit there and stuff happens. Look, the baby's even playing. If the baby can play, it's not a good game. I've just got to say that. Like, if the baby's mind is already playing the game where his fingers don't need to be a part of it, I'm having none of this. I don't like any of this. And I should have seen that she was evil from there, but I kind of forgot because there was so much other stuff going on, and I was just having so much fun living in the world of Raised by Wolves. I totally missed that was clearly the setup, the Chekhov's gun of grandmother, clearly being evil and brainwashing everyone. But I really like the fact that she's not working for Soul, or the entity, that she is kind of doing this to, stop the entity coming out of the ground, or whatever the hell he is in his subterranean, I guess he's in that lava area at the end of season 1 where they shot through, somewhere in there. But I love the fact that she's not with Soul, so she's kind of like a secondary antagonist, and they're both antagonists against each other, I guess. And then there's all the humans and all the main characters in the middle, and they're like, we hate everybody. We hate both these bad guys. Marcus doesn't get a lot to do this episode, but what he gets to do is amazing. He tries to go underground to fight the entity or Soul or whatever. Or I don't know what he was really planning, but he's going in the big cage to go into the subterranean levels of the planet. And then bloody his old mate guy, I've forgotten the name of, because screw that guy, I hate him. And he's like, bang, 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 bang! I shoot you, Marcus, you're dead. And at first, I was so scared and so angry at the fact that they were going to kill Marcus. I'm like, if Ragnar Lothbrok dies, I don't want to keep watching. Like, the show can totally continue without him. He's not like a necessary thing for the show. But since Sue just died, it feels super like unearned, and like just, it doesn't feel like it works for the story to kill him so quickly. I guess the idea that Paul loses both his parents really quickly might work. But yeah, overall, I was just like, I hate that. You've just suddenly turned him back into like an atheist who hates Soul, and now you're gonna kill him. Don't like it. But then of course, no, he's not dead. And when the serpent crashes, he turns into a tree as well. So I guess maybe he always thought the serpent was gonna die and turn into a tree. Maybe that was the plan all along. Maybe Soul, he's all about the trees or something. I guess he's an environmentalist. Then Marcus, he's put upside down on an upside down crucifix thing on the tree, and the guy puts that terrifying Punisher hitty man, when they hit the people, and he puts the big mask thing on, and terrifying, amazing mask, love that like look. And then he leaves him there and he's like, I'm gonna wait until you die. And I guess he's just gonna sit there for 3 days waiting for him to starve to death. How boring. How utterly boring. And at that point, I'm like, okay, you're not gonna go to all this lengths. You would have done a shock death, bang bang, shoot to the head, kind of to kill him. You wouldn't do this long, arduous kind of thing. He's definitely not going to be dead. Also, please don't kill Ragnar. I'll be so angry if Marcus is dead. I'll be so angry. And then he turns around when it seems that he's dead. I'm like, no, the feeling of this music, the tone, the whole scene, he's not dead. I can just feel it in my bones. What I didn't expect is that the cliffhanger of this season would be that Marcus, in some weird spiritual crazy thing, is now floating in the sky in an upside down Christ looking thing, just floating there like a magical spirit of vengeance demon thingy. Crazy. What the hell is going on there? My first thought is, has Soul possessed his body? And is Marcus's third season having just kind of pushed away from Soul? He's like, I don't like Soul. You killed my girl. You turned her into a tree. Not cool. But then Soul's like, actually, I'm you now. And so then we'll get, Ragnar Lothbrok's amazing acting and all these things in his hair and, you know, his glorious hair. God, I can't get over how much I love his hair. And he's just like doing all the things, but it's Soul trying to get like, you know, followers to him now. And then we get like a corporeal version of him. Unless he is a corporeal little man wizard hiding in the subterranean. But maybe it's an entity and it needs to take like a corporeal form. So I think maybe it's that, or it's something else. I don't know. I would love to know people's theories and like ideas of what is happening to Marcus, why he is floating. Is he a magical demon warrior? Has he been blessed powers? Or is he Soul incarnate now, possessed or whatever? But yeah, amazing end, amazing cliffhanger to set us up for season 3. I hope it's not as long a wait between season 1 and 2. I didn't have that wait personally. I've only just recently gone to the show, but still, if I have to wait 2 years, I'll die of sadness because this show is amazing. I love it so much. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I'd love to know all your thoughts on season 2 of Raised by Wolves and any theories and speculation for season 3.